The small, sunlit apartment was filled with the smell of freshly brewed coffee. Daniel sat at his modest wooden desk, a steaming mug by his side, the morning light casting soft shadows across his cluttered workspace. The scene was tranquil, a snapshot of ordinary life, yet Daniel's mind was anything but peaceful. He stared blankly at the blinking cursor on his laptop screen, feeling a familiar emptiness gnaw at his insides. He was a writer, or at least he used to be. Lately, the words that once flowed effortlessly from his mind seemed to elude him, leaving behind an unsettling void. It wasn't just writer's block. It was something deeper, something more profound. Daniel had come to realize that his life, with all its routines and responsibilities, was devoid of meaning. He leaned back in his chair, eyes drifting to the ceiling as if seeking answers in the plaster cracks. His thoughts wandered to the philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre, who once wrote that existence precedes essence. It was a concept Daniel had grappled with in college, dismissing it as academic jargon. Now it felt like an inescapable truth. He existed, but to what end? What essence, if any, defined his being? The shrill ring of his phone jolted him from his reverie. He glanced at the caller ID. Sarah. His girlfriend's name flickered on the screen, a reminder of the one constant in his life. He hesitated, then picked up. "Hey, Daniel." Her voice was warm, familiar. "How's your day going?" "Same as usual," he replied, unable to mask the weariness in his tone. "Trying to write, but it's not going well." Sarah sighed sympathetically. "Maybe you need a break. Why don't we go out tonight?" "It might help clear your mind." He considered her suggestion. Sarah was his anchor, her presence a beacon of hope in his otherwise directionless existence. "Yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that." That evening they met at a small, cozy cafe downtown. The place was bustling with life, a stark contrast to Daniel's inner turmoil. They found a corner table and ordered drinks, settling into the comforting hum of background chatter and clinking glasses. As they sipped their drinks, Sarah reached across the table, her hand covering his. "I've been thinking about us. About you," she began. "You've been so distant lately. Is there something you're not telling me?" Daniel looked into her eyes, seeing concern mingled with love. He sighed, struggling to find the right words. "I feel lost, Sarah. It's like I'm floating through life without any purpose. I don't know what I'm doing or why I'm doing it." She squeezed his hand gently. "Everyone feels that way sometimes. It's part of being human, but we find meaning in the things we love, in the people we care about. You're not alone in this." Her words were comforting, but Daniel couldn't shake the persistent void. They spent the rest of the evening talking about lighter topics, sharing laughs and memories, but the existential dread lingered at the edge of his consciousness. Later that night, Daniel lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Sarah slept beside him, her breathing soft and rhythmic. He envied her ability to find peace so easily. His thoughts drifted back to Sartre, and the idea that life is inherently meaningless. Humans, he had argued, are condemned to be free, to create their own meaning in a universe that offers none. Daniel rose quietly, careful not to wake Sarah, and went to the living room. He needed to clear his mind, to find some semblance of understanding. He picked up a book from the shelf. Albert Camus' The Myth of Sisyphus. It was a text he had read years ago, but never fully grasped. Tonight, it called to him. As he read, Camus' words resonated deeply. The absurd hero, Sisyphus, condemned to roll a boulder up a hill only for it to roll back down, symbolized the human condition. Yet, Camus found a form of defiance in Sisyphus's plight. The struggle itself, the relentless pursuit in the face of futility, was where one could find meaning. Daniel closed the book, his mind alight with a new perspective. Maybe life didn't need an inherent purpose. Maybe the act of living, of striving, was enough. He thought about his writing, the stories he had crafted over the years. Each one was a boulder, a testament to his struggle against the void. The next morning, Daniel felt a subtle shift in his mindset. The existential dread was still there, lurking, but it no longer paralyzed him. He sat at his desk, fingers poised over the keyboard. He began to type, not with the expectation of creating something grand, but simply to write, to engage in the process that defined him. Weeks passed, and Daniel's routine slowly transformed. He wrote every day, finding solace in the rhythm of his craft. His relationship with Sarah deepened as he opened up about his struggles, their conversations filled with mutual support and understanding. One evening, after a particularly productive writing session, Daniel and Sarah sat on their balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink. He turned to her, a content smile on his face. "Thank you for being here, for believing in me," he said softly. "I'm still figuring things out, but I'm starting to see that maybe the journey is what matters most." Sarah leaned her head on his shoulder. "I believe in you, Daniel, and I'll be here, every step of the way." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Daniel felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in a long time. He realized that life's meaning wasn't something to be found, but something to be created, moment by moment, with each breath and each action. In the quiet of that shared moment, Daniel embraced the absurdity of existence, finding beauty in the struggle and hope in the journey.